Good afternoon, Louisiana, and welcome to a Super Bowl edition of At the Book here on bet.nola.com. I am Zach Ewing along with Devin Jackson and Jim Derry. Jim and I are here at Caesar Sportsbook inside Harrah's, New Orleans. He's giving me the little, there's Jim right there, see? Everybody's here together, so there's a little bit of an echo, I noticed. That's our only problem right now, but we'll deal with that. So how are you guys 3 days from Super Bowl Sunday?
I'm sure Devin's better than both of us. He doesn't have that echo running around in his head. Devin?
Well, I would be doing better if a couple of bets I make actually come through. I stop getting bad beats. It's been a week of bad beats.
I swear to God, man, that Tulane plus 9.5 or 10, whatever you got it at, against Memphis. Was that last night or the night before?
It was last night.
Yeah, that's the worst beat of the season. You guys got to look up the video if you haven't seen it. Tulane's plus 9.5. They're only losing by 7 with like a minute left. They get to they're down 11. Memphis hit a few free throws, and Memphis is not playing defense. Tulane just comes down the court and throws up a layup that doesn't go in at the buzzer. I mean, it's just like, I mean, thank God we don't bet too much on these things, I guess.
Better now than this weekend.
That is true. We're going to have a lot more money in the line this weekend. If you'd like to join the fun, you can download the Caesar Sportsbook onto your phone, and you can get a $300 bonus just for betting $20. So download it, bet $20 on the Super Bowl or on anything else, on college basketball and the NBA, and you get $300 in bonus cash. And then once you bet that, you're free to take it out, whatever you won out of it. So it could be free money. There's no better deal than that. Go to nola.com/Caesars or use promo code NOLA300 for that deal. Believe there's also a deal out there where if you bet $20, you can get a $250 Uber Eats gift card. So that's a pretty cool deal too, especially for Super Bowl Sunday. You can get your tailgate paid for.
I like Uber Eats.
Yeah. Wow, yeah. $250 worth, man. You can throw a party. The Super Bowl is coming soon, of course. And by the way, the line changed this morning, at least here at Caesars. It is now Rams minus 3.5. It had been 4 or 4.5 basically since the line dropped 2 weeks ago. Now it's 3.5. If you like the Rams, this is the place to bet it. If you like the Bengals, obviously you want to go look for a 4 or a 4.5. But if you haven't bet yet and you like the Rams, today is the day to do it.
I didn't think it would go this low, to be honest. So I think you're getting a real break. The money line was a minus 170 when I looked this morning. So I think that, yeah, for sure. If you're thinking about betting on the Rams, now's the time to decide if that's what you want to do. And I'll be honest, you might be able to even get in the middle somewhere, because I think at the minimum, I think on game day this goes back to 4.5 and minus 200 at the bare minimum.
Yeah, I mean, if you could get a minus 3.5 and a plus 4.5, obviously it's not extremely likely the Rams would win by exactly 4 points, but it's not impossible, and you would be cashing in both sides there. So, in fact, Caesars tweeted it out this morning. This line is for 24 hours only, so I do wonder if they'll do the same thing on the Bengals tomorrow and maybe go to a plus 5 or something as a promotion, and you could really try to hit that middle. So lots of opportunity there. The total has remained very rock steady, though, at 48.5. That thing hasn't moved for 10 days.
It hasn't moved like my Sprite just spilled. That's for sure.
Oh, man. Wait, the live shot of
Jim's
Jim's drink going all over.
Yeah, well, that's why I got 2 of them, Just as long as my computer doesn't get wet, we're good.
This is At the Book on bet.nola.com. We will have James Carville on live here in a few minutes. He's going to do Cash In with Carville. Spencer, the Guru Urquhart's going to join us later. We're going to talk some prop bets as well. And we're excited. We got a lot of different picks. In fact, here's the questions we will ask James Carville. And you can also see the pros' answers to these questions in tomorrow's Times-Picayune and Advocate. Of course, we got the spread, and these were all the lines as of yesterday. And so yesterday, the Rams were minus 4. Then we had the over-under, 48.5, and then some props. And Jim and I have some thoughts on this one, but Joe Burrow over or under 1.5 touchdowns. The 1.5, the over seems real easy there. Joe Burrow's been red hot. He'll throw for 2 touchdowns. I would be careful with that one, Jim.
Yeah, and I think it's too easy. I mean, anything that looks too easy or too good to be true usually is. And first of all, I'm not sure that the Bengals are going to score 2 touchdowns. My predicted score is, I think I'm going to say 24-16. I think I say a little something different on Datitude, but somewhere in that neighborhood.
By the way, we're going to do predictions at the end of the show, so if you want to work on that score,
yeah, I might change it before then, but I'm thinking the Bengals are going to kick more field goals early on, have to go for touchdowns later. But I'm not, I think they're going to try to involve Mixon. It wouldn't surprise me if Burrow snuck one in or something along those lines. But I don't like the passing touchdowns over here. But this is one that I wouldn't play either.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough to predict how Burrow will do against that Rams defense. So James Carville will be on in a few minutes. That's one of the ones that we'll pick. Devin, we both see a low-scoring game. I know Spencer sees a higher-scoring game, and he's on the Bengals. Where do you fall on this?
Yeah, with the over-under on Joe Burrow, I like the under a lot here. I think even if he throws a touchdown, I have to think that, it's not going to be a situation where he's just throwing all over the Rams. I feel like the Rams game plan is going to force him to take the short underneath passes before he tries to go long and hit the big plays. I have to think that's going to be the Rams game plan here to force him to take the underneath route and play kind of that shell defense where you're not giving up the big play, but you're contesting some of the shorter passes as well. So I would think at least that, I kind of like the under there on Joe Burrow's throwing more than a touchdown and a half. I just think he's going to throw at least one, but more than that, that's going to be in question, especially if they have issues blocking the Rams.
Well, now that we all three agree on it, I don't feel as good about it. That's the way that works. So let's bring on somebody who sees it the other way. It is time for Cash In with Carville, the last time of the season. Let's welcome into the program James Carville, and this is it, James. Welcome onto the show live here from Harrah's Casino, and we're excited to pick some Super Bowl bets.
Boy, I tell you, it's been since early September. We've had some fun.
Yeah, no doubt about that. This is 21 weeks. So a lot of fun, and we are here, and we're going to pick some Super Bowl props and see what we can do.
All right.
Let's see if we can't make.
Let's try.
There we go. That's the view we want. All right. So we're going to start with, of course, just the simple prop, the simple spread. Rams -4 against the Bengals. This is the matchup you kind of foretold a couple weeks ago and said you'd be afraid for Joe Burrow, and we'll get to that. But how do you see the spread coming down?
Well, first of all, there's no way I'm gonna pick against Cincinnati. Right? I'd get killed. I couldn't walk around. I couldn't walk the streets. This is going to be, if you go around, watch the bars, 6:30 Sunday, it's going to be like an LSU Saints game. I don't know of a single person that's pulling for the Rams. So you would be rich if you just bet on Joe Burrow, and I'm betting on Joe Burrow, but I'm so emotionally with the Bengals that you can't imagine it.
Yeah, no, that I get that. Where will you be watching the Super Bowl from?
Actually, it was kind of Ray Metnikov family. My wife and my daughter and their husband and their boyfriend are coming out, and I might even make Cincinnati Chili.
With over the noodles? Is that the?
They put it over spaghetti.
Skyline.
Yeah, but it's Skyline. Yeah, it's good. They put a little cocoa in there, but it's good. It's good. You do it with shredded cheese and diced onions and oyster crackers. It's a cultural dish, but they're all over Cincinnati. I mean, they really support it. So I just feel like I gotta be part of the effort here. Maybe
James, don't forget the allspice.
Allspice. Oh yeah. Okay. All right.
Gotta put that in there.
Yeah. No, I'll try it once.
And
Look that way.
Boiled. They don't saute the ground meat. They boil it in food.
Yeah. It's weird,
different,
but it's good.
We'll try it.
All right, Cincinnati Chili. What does the chili tell you about the over, the under?
Well, I like the under. We're going against most people will pick the over. The Cincinnati deep. Remember, do not forget this. The Cincinnati, if Joe Burrow had the equivalent of an offensive line that hit 270, he would have 1,000 more yards. But what Cincinnati does, they got a good defense, and so do the Rams. So I'm looking at the under here.
All right. Speaking of Joe Burrow, we know the offensive line, especially against Aaron Donald, Von Miller, that defensive line could be an issue. So the line on Burrow touchdown passes is set. It's only 1.5. I always thought these lines were hard to make because if you make it 2.5, that's almost too high. But will Joe Burrow get to 2 touchdown passes?
Yes.
All right.
You mean a game that he played in that he didn't get 2 touchdown passes?
The Tennessee game a couple weeks ago actually didn't have any.
Okay.
So it has happened, yeah.
You can point to 1 or 2, but they few and far.
And by the way, at Caesars, that line is juiced up to, I think, minus 160 for the over. So it is more likely, according to the odds makers, that he would go over the 1.5. A couple of other ex-LSU players, a couple of New Orleans boys here, Jamar Chase and Odell Beckham. Both of them have a reception line set at 5.5. So who ends up with more receptions, Jamar Chase of the Bengals or OBJ of the Rams?
Let's go Chase.
Go with Jamar Chase there. And the yardage, by the way, Chase.
I don't understand how once it gets consumed with Burrow sometimes, we tend to forget how good Jamar Chase was. And everybody said Cincinnati was crazy to pick him and not an offensive lineman, but he's worth an all-pro right tackle because he's so fast, he gets out there so quickly, and he catches the ball under any circumstances. He gives Burrow, a chance to get the hell out of there. It's become a wide receivers game, no doubt about it. And speaking of that, Cooper Kupp of the Rams might be he has had the best single season, I think, of any player in this game. Led the NFL in receiving yards, in receptions, and in receiving touchdowns. His line is set all the way up at 106.5 yards. Is that too tall for you? No, I'd take it. That guy, where did he come from? He went to Eastern Washington.
Washington.
I never. Yep. Where did this guy come from? Who are these guys? Where did he come from? It's like all-world receiver. And I don't know, but somebody saw something. Oof, man, he's good.
That was a scouting win right there. As for the running backs, probably not as much of a spotlight on them, but Joe Mixon of the Bengals, Cam Akers of the Rams, more rushing yards between the two.
I'll take Akers.
All right, Akers it is. And finally, back to our New Orleans guys. We'll take Jamar Chase. Will he score a touchdown or not?
No.
Okay.
No. But he'll catch a lot of passes, and he'll set touchdowns up.
So
they're going to do everything they can not to let Jamar Chase get behind him.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. And so we like Burrow over 1.5 touchdowns, but not 1 to Chase.
Right.
And then finally, OBJ, yes or no on scoring a touchdown for LA?
I don't think. I mean, he's obviously really good, but they got caught in. I say without a lot of conviction, I go no on both of them. But
all right,
pretty. You got when you're gambling, you got to go to the window and place a bet. It's not how good you feel about it, but
that is right. We'll show you one more. Who do you like for MVP?
Burrow.
Go with the boy Joe, and we've talked about this. If you're getting plus 220 and the Bengals money line's only plus 190, you might as well take Burrow.
Yeah, because if they win, it's pretty clear. Unless maybe somebody makes some sterling defensive, 5 defensive plays, but it's that's a 30-cent overlay. Why not?
All right, James. Well, it's been a lot of fun. I hope you'll check back in with us from time to time throughout the rest of the year.
We're around, guys. All of y'all love doing this. I love all the guys getting on there. It's a lot of fun, and I hope everybody's responsible about this because people can lose their mind. You lose your shirt.
That's right. Be responsible and have fun with it, and we hope you have fun on Super Bowl Sunday.
Thank you, James.
All right, man. Thank all of you guys. Y'all all do great work.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, James.
With every one of you. Thank you.
All right. It's James Carville, cashing in with Carville the last time this year, and just a lot of fun, guys, and obviously a guy who has fallen in love with Joe Burrow over the last 4 years, like a lot of Louisianans.
By the way, Zach, it has happened 6 times this year. 6 out of 20. He has finished with fewer than 2 touchdown passes.
Yeah, he's had quite a few ones, and we talked about this on Monday, and we can talk about it as we go on. He had none against the Titans a couple of weeks ago. A similar, I mean, the Rams' pass rush is even better than the Titans, but we all saw what happened in that game. The Bengals were able to win it, of course, which is a credit to Burrow, but he had a rough day. Plus 850 for him not to pass for a touchdown. Plus 850.
Yeah, he went through a stretch there at the end of the regular season. The last 2 games he had 4 and 4. But before that, in order going backwards, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 0. So, I mean, with this pass rush playing a team like this, and one of those games he threw just 1 against Denver, he threw 1 against the Chargers, 1 against Pittsburgh, 1 against the Raiders the first time he played them, and none against Cleveland. And I would consider this Rams defense a lot like Cleveland's defense. And the Bengals did not have a lot of success playing Cleveland this year. In fact, they did not have success playing Cleveland this year.
And just to, even if they don't necessarily get to Burrow early in the game, you could see the Bengals trying to run the ball a lot to sort of stunt that pass rush early in the game. And so I don't know that Burrow's going to get a ton of opportunities, at least in the first quarter, or as long as the game stays close, to sling it around 10 times a drive. I just don't think it's going to happen. So, Scott, we'll get to who we're going with at the end of the show. We will have our official Super Bowl picks. And Nick says, cashing in with Uncle Big Nick. Hey, if your golf picks keep – hey, listen, if the golf picks –
this guy is unreal.
You keep asking for his golf picks, though.
Yeah, and I keep putting him on Datitude. I don't know what's going on.
All right, speaking of experts, we'll bring, at this point, Spencer the Guru Urquhart on as we continue at the book here on bet.nola.com. Zach, Jim, and Devin, and now Spencer the Guru in the studio. Spencer, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, Zach, Jim, Devin? I'm doing well and ready to get these Super Bowl picks.
Super Bowl preview edition. And again, our line, -3.5 here at Caesar Sportsbook. The lowest you will find in the industry. So if you like the favorite, you want to bet them here. They're -170 on the money line. And you won't find a better price anywhere else. Now, if you want to bet the Bengals, you either want to wait till they change the price or go somewhere else, because this is, as I said, as low as you'll find.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen on some other books that it is still at 4.5, and I'm more leaning to the Bengals, but I'm still waiting a little bit to lock in my final pick. But yeah, this was definitely a shocker when I woke up to that this morning, that they had shifted it that much on Caesars.
Yeah, and that's a big shift at this point with all the money that is in on it. So I don't know if that means they're trying to get a little more money on the Rams, or if it's just a promo to get more money on it, period. I don't know, but it is 3.5 right now here at Harrah's and at the Caesar Sportsbook app.
Well, Zach, if you think about it, I mean, Mattress Mac put a $4.5 million bet on the Bengals money line. So that alone, you would think would move it. Because, I mean, you're talking about a spread. I mean, obviously millions and millions of dollars going to be able to be put on it. But when you're talking about, even if you say $1 billion, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the math is. Let's say it's 200 million or 300 million. They're going to take in just on the spread. I mean, that 4.5 million is quite a big chunk, and certainly enough to move a line. I'm kind of surprised it didn't move at Caesars after that, but you think of where everybody else had it, and they don't want to be the first ones to make a move. So I would think that this is a promotion, and I would certainly think it's going to go the other way, at least by Friday night or Saturday.
Yeah, I think it'll go back to 4. They even advertised it as 24 hours only. So if you do like the Rams, now's the time to get it. And I think I do like the Rams, not to give away my pick, but we talked about, look, the Bengals, they needed to survive a throw into the end zone on the last play of the game against the Raiders. They needed to survive a last-second 54-yard field goal to beat the Titans. They needed to come from 21-3 down, send the Chiefs into overtime, get another tipped ball interception as part of that, and then end up winning that game on a field goal. Not to take anything away from them, but they have not exactly been a juggernaut.
Well, I'll say this, in case Uncle Big Nick's watching. Have I mentioned, Zach, that I win either way?
You have, yeah.
Oh, okay. I just
a time or two, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure, in case Uncle Big Nick's still watching.
All right, Super Bowl MVP. We showed this to James Carville. He brought up the same point we brought up: is listen, if you like the Bengals, the bet here to make is Joe Burrow to win the MVP, because they're plus 190 on the money line. You can get an extra 30 cents just for betting him MVP. And I guess Jamar Chase could possibly win it, or Joe Mixon, but 95% of Bengals wins are going to have a Burrow MVP attached.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Go ahead, Spence.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about that. And just because it's basically the quarterback award is evidenced by these odds. There's no skill player. There's very few. I remember Edelman won it a few years ago, but that was obviously the exception, not the norm. It's very much always a quarterback. And I think they'll be even more inclined to give it to a quarterback this year if it's close, considering Stafford and Burrow have never won before. So they'd have to really suck for them not to get it.
That's hard-hitting analysis right there. I will say, the only Super Bowl MVP on the field on Sunday, Von Miller.
I will also say that I think a nice long shot is not on this list, and we talk about it on Datitude tomorrow, but I like Cam Akers at 30-1. And I think the Rams are going to certainly try to come out and run the ball, and I think they have a good chance to be successful. I love the Cam Akers. We'll talk about props, I'm sure, and I talked about props with Spencer in our Fantasy Roundup show. But Cam Akers over 63.5 yards, I love that. That is one of my favorite props, and I tell you what, put down $10 on Akers to win MVP, and I win $300 off the $10 bet. I think it's better than 30-1. I certainly think that.
Yeah, you won, Nick. You cashed. I think it was like 19.5 minutes.
Yeah, well, it was rigged.
Maybe. But did you rig it for Uncle Big Nick?
Yeah, he's going to give me a little something on the side.
Fraud. I'm claiming fraud. All right. Let's take a minute to talk about the LSU guys in this game, because for Louisiana's, I was just running to somebody in the office this morning in Baton Rouge, and they said, I've been more excited for the Super Bowl than any Super Bowl since the Saints played. And I think that's not a feeling he was alone on, and it's because of Burrow and Jamar Chase. And then on the other side, you have OBJ. So,
does he forget 28-3?
Well, were you excited about that going in, though?
Oh, I don't know, but I was excited going out.
Yeah, that was more one to crow about on Super Monday. So let's take a look at some of these LSU guys and their prop bets, starting with Joe Burrow. And by the way, there are more you can bet than just this. I just picked the probably 7 most common here. But we talked about passing touchdowns. The way that's juiced, I just don't see any value at all on the over. Spencer, I think you disagree with me, though. You think Burrow's got a good chance at 2.
Right, yeah, I'm thinking he gets like 3 or 4, so I'd still take it even though it's juiced up. I know I'm in the minority there, but I've got a good feeling that he's just been so battle tested. I know they haven't been a juggernaut. They've pulled out a lot of close games, but I just feel like being able to do that is really tested them. Where I think for this one, they're going to be ready to put on a show, and I feel like the Rams' pass defense is somewhat overrated. I feel like they get helped out a lot by the pass rush. So the Bengals O-line, if they can just hold their weight, just do their part. I know they've struggled at times, but if Burrow has any sort of time to throw, I think he's going to carve them up.
Are you pretty much over across the board then here, Spencer?
Yeah, I would say so. The only ones, those bottom 2, I'd be a little leery about. Burrow, not a big runner. So I'd probably go to under there. And then longest completion, I think there's a good chance he gets a deep one, but deep balls are kind of hit or miss. So I feel like those are the 2 I'd stay away from. Yeah, all the other ones. And then interceptions. Interceptions is kind of tough. I'd probably go with the under because I'm thinking he'll be able to be efficient, but you never know what a tip ball and all that. But yeah, completions, attempts, yards, and TDs. Give me the over on all of them.
Devin, give me your favorite prop on this board.
Favorite prop is definitely attempts because I think he's going to have to throw the ball a lot in the second half, especially if they get behind in this game. Best case scenario for them is that he stays under that. I think for them to realistically win the game, because that means they have a good running attack going. But I think attempts here is probably my favorite, the under on attempts. the over on ticks, excuse me, because I feel like if it gets to that point in the game, he's going to, especially if the Rams shut down the running game, he's going to be throwing the football a lot.
And the over there, you can get it even money. So a little bit of value in that one. Jim?
Easy. Under rushing yards. He's only rushed for more than 11.5 yards 3 times all season, including the playoffs. He did it last week against Kansas City. But the only thing that scares me a little bit is he's going to be forced out of the pocket, so you worry that he breaks our 8 or 9 yard run and then he doesn't need as much. But the over-under longest run by Joe Burrow is 8.5. So even if he gets that 8 yards, I mean, that means he would have to attempt 3. So I think under 11.5, that is not only one of my favorite picks on this board, is my favorite pick on this board, but it's one of my favorite props, period.
And the other part about that is if he gets to 12 or 13, a kneel down, whether it's at the end of the half or the end of the game, takes away from that total on quarterback rushing yards. And so you could cash in there too. All right, moving on to our next ex-LSU player, New Orleanian Jamar Chase. Touchdown props here if you really want to go hog wild. And by the way, I was going to say on Spencer saying he thought Burrow would throw 3 or 4. If you think that, you're better off going into Caesars, looking at the bet through all the prop bets. You can bet on specifically 3 or 4. And I think Joe Burrow to throw 4 touchdowns is 8-1. So, if you think he's really going to have a good day, you're better off doing that than paying the minus 160 on over 1.5. But on Jamar Chase, you can get plus 460 to score 2 touchdowns. His receiving prop is at 79.5. Longest reception here is interesting, 27.5, guys, because James brought this up. Like maybe the Rams don't want to even let him get downfield. But you kind of feel like even if he doesn't have a good day, they're at least going to take a couple of shots.
I'm not so sure about that. There aren't a lot of values on this board. I will say this, though. If I had to pick one, I would pick the under receiving yards. I don't think that's a number he's going to hit. And Jamar has been one of those guys where he's either had a really, really good day or kind of mediocre subpar day. And there have been a lot more subpars than there have been, great days. So I kind of lean to the under in this, and I think that's a pretty good price considering I think he's done it 8 times out of 20 that he's hit over 79.5. And this Rams defense, with respect to Spencer, I think is the best in the business overall. I mean, their pass rush is incredible. I love their defensive backfield. Where their weakest is across the middle. Are we going to see Jamar Chase go over the middle? No, I think that's more likely C.J. Uzomah or, maybe T. Higgins or something like that. So I definitely like the under here.
Yeah, and C.J. Uzomah might not even be playing, so that's another kind of strike against the Bengals offense here.
Then I would like Mixon to get in the screen game and try to slip around the defensive end.
Let's see here. That receiving yards prop, by the way, was like 82.5, 83.5 a week ago, so it is on the way down. Spencer, what do you like here?
Oh, I like the over on the longest reception because I definitely think they're going to target him, Jamar Chase, down the field a lot. He will draw Jalen Ramsey, though, I'm sure, the Rams' #1 corner. So the over, if I had to pick, I'd go over on the 79.5 because I'm thinking I don't know if he'll quite get 100, but I'm thinking he'll go over that there if I had to predict. Just don't feel like, because if he doesn't get that long one, then he probably won't. So it's not like a smash play, but it's something that if I had to pick, I'd probably say yeah. And then, because T. Higgins will be on the other side of him. He could get a lot of it too, because I know I'm feeling Burrow to throw a lot of TDs. I'm thinking that Higgins will get in on that too, and it won't just be exclusively Chase, which is why I'm not super bullish on him going over on all these. But I do think he'll have a good day. I don't think he'll go off for that 200 something like he did a few weeks ago against, I believe it was Baltimore, and the Chiefs in their first meeting. He had blow up games in both of those, but I still think he'll have a pretty nice day. And I know the numbers might be a little high, but I'm liking it. I'm drinking the Burrow Chase Kool-Aid, I guess.
I think there's like a prop for both teams to combine for 1,000 yards. Spencer might be interested in that one because he's seen a lot of yards in this game.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have to look into those because I like the Burrow Stafford. I like the matchup, a high scoring affair. I know the defenses are solid, but I feel like it's the passing era in today's NFL, and I'm thinking that's going to win out there. You know, the good weather and SoFi Stadium. You know, we're gonna have the good conditions for that. Won't have to worry about the elements. So I'm betting on the high score, and we'll see how it goes.
Devin, you got a Jamar Chase prop you like?
I like the over 5.5 receptions. I'm thinking that Cincinnati is going to do a lot with like moving him around, getting some quick hitter screens to him, try to get him the ball in space. So I think they're going to make sure that he gets the ball early and often. I don't think it's going to be necessarily efficient because I think I could see like 12, 13 targets go Chase's way, and he catches 6 passes. It's not exactly efficient, but I could see at least 2, 3 of them coming off of screens, a few coming off of slant. So I think the over 5.5 receptions is likely there. He may not get a ton of yards after catch, and especially if the Rams tackle well from the secondary position. But I think I like that one the best out of all of them on the board here.
Yeah, I actually like that quite a bit too. We've seen that in the postseason that the Bengals are I don't know about forcing him the ball, but they're making sure he's involved. He's been getting a couple rushes a game. He's been catching some short passes. They have been trying to make sure that he's involved. So I don't mind that one at all. On the other side of the ball, our other local prospect or local player in the game is Odell Beckham Jr., traded midseason, of course, from the Browns. He said this week, by the way, that he was very close to signing with the Saints, that he would love to do that at some point in his career. It just didn't feel like the right time for him. And, of course, he's in the Super Bowl, so he probably made the right choice there. His number is just a little bit higher than Chase across the board. You can get plus 625 for 2 touchdowns, receiving yards at 63.5. Interesting, though, that his reception total is the same. Jim, I don't know. I mean, there's the argument here that Cooper Kupp is going to get so much attention that a guy as talented as OBJ could really thrive in this game.
Well, I mean, Cooper Kupp, no matter how much he seems to get his yards, no matter who's guarding him or whatever. But I gotta think that if anybody's going to break one, I think that OBJ is going to have the best chance if Eli Apple is on him. So I like longest reception at minus 115. I also like better than even odds that he's going to score a touchdown. So I think that OBJ is going to be more of a primary target than he has been. He's improved every game. He's been more of a target every single game since he's gotten there. And so I don't know that they're going to necessarily take the spotlight off of Cooper Kupp, but I do think that OBJ is the clear number 2. And I like the over in the receiving yards as well. So I don't like a lot of overs when it comes to yardage, but he's definitely one that I would probably take the over there. But of all the plays on that board, I would probably take that he scores a touchdown at 1.1 to 1.
Yeah, plus 112 there. And honestly, we have this as one of our Carville picks. I might like him to score a touchdown better than Jamar Chase to score a touchdown, just because I think he's going to have a little more freedom.
I definitely think that. I mean, you look at who's going to be on him, and it's Eli Apple, and you look at who's going to be on Jamar Chase, and it's Jalen Ramsey. So, I mean, if you're giving me even money odds, I'm taking OBJ there.
Spencer, what do you think here?
Yeah, I'm thinking the receptions over is a good play because Van Jefferson, their number 3 receiver, seemed to have really faded here down the stretch, and it's been more and more OBJ as he received a lot of targets in the NFC title game. So I'm thinking that I'm feeling pretty good that he'll go over on the receptions as well as yards. I take the over on the yards, but the juice a little more favorable. It actually boosted pretty good there to plus 100 on the receptions. I like that a lot.
Spencer, the guru, life's too short to bet the under.
Right? Yeah, I feel a lot of overs, man.
Nobody. We'll talk about it later. Nobody wants to bet an under. It's not fun.
Yeah.
You have to sweat it all the way through the end, and it is hip to be square, Devin Jackson.
Devin, your thoughts on OBJ props?
Yep, I think I'm going to have to agree with Jim here. I was thinking, probably the longest reception over 23.5 yards. It only takes one deep pass to get that. I would not be surprised if the Rams came out and attested Eli Apple early on. First drive of the game, play action and then throw it deep. And right there, you get a 40, 50-yard reception. And I think that's a really good play. Because, like, even if it's not necessarily a deep pass, you think of those crossing routes that they like to run and, those corner routes and kind of the holes in zone defense he can exploit. He can also move with the ball in his hands as well. So he could easily catch a 15, 20-yard pass and gain another 5, 10 yards, and you get the prop right there. So I think on this board, kind of thinking of what's been happening even over the last few weeks in playoffs, how Odell has been more and more part of the offense. I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to test Cincy's defense early and try to get him behind coverage.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, OBJ's been a number one receiver everywhere he's been in his career. We sort of forgot about him because of all the disputes in Cleveland. But the guy has proven the last 6 or 8 games he's still number one receiver talent, but he doesn't get number one receiver treatment because of Cooper Kupp. And so I just think he's in a great spot, especially you consider Gerald Everett is probably out for the Rams, and so they're down their starting tight end. As you mentioned, Van Jefferson has been trending down a little bit. So, yeah, I like OBJ quite a bit. All right, you're watching At the Book here on bet.nola.com. Zach, Jim, Devin, and Spencer are with you. It's our Super Bowl preview show. We talked about our ex-LSU guys in the big game, and how about some other notable prop bets? Matt Stafford. The thing I find interesting here is that by the way the VIG works, Matt Stafford is considered more likely to throw an interception than Joe Burrow. Maybe that means he's going to be taking more chances, but that is interesting to me. He's juiced up to minus 160 to throw a pick.
The difference between Matt Stafford and Joe Burrow, when you talk about it, and the reason why one prop that's not on here, and one thing that I like and I talked about with Spencer is over 5 sacks in the game, like total sacks. I think Joe Burrow is more likely to take a sack and just eat it than Matt Stafford is. Stafford sometimes will try to do too much with the football, and he will feel pressure too. And so I think that he is more likely to throw an interception. I don't know that I like to say minus 160. That's a little bit too much there. So I would not touch that at all. But I've talked about it. The one that I like the most on this board, and probably my second favorite bet on the board of all the thousands of prop bets you can make, is Akers over at 63.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting there too is, so Akers is at 63.5 rushing yards, 82.5 total yards. Mixon is actually slated for fewer rushing yards, but more total yards. And so you talked about that screen game. The Bengals are more likely to get him involved in the passing game, whereas the Rams might turn to Sony Michel or one of their other backs when they want to do that. Spencer, on this list, Cooper Kupp is up there at 105.5 receiving yards. Pick out something you like for us on this board.
All right, yeah, I'm actually liking a couple unders here. I'm going to unders with Mixon's rushing.
Boring.
What?
And I'll really get bored for y'all. I'm going to under on Cooper Kupp's receiving. I don't think he quite gets that. I think he'll definitely, if it was like 90, I'd be tempted to go to over. But at 105.5, I just can't do it. I don't. To me, if it's that high, it's just going to be too dependent on a deep ball, which he's been great at this year. But they have OBJ, they have Van Jefferson, they've got other guys that can get those deep balls. And we know the last thing the Bengals want to do is to allow Cooper Kupp to beat them deep. I think they're going to obviously have less attention on those guys like OBJ and Jefferson. So I think if Stafford unleashes a deep ball, I'm thinking it could easily beat one of them. And so at that total, I'm just not really feeling it as far as him going to over there. He's gotten the huge totals the past 2 weeks, so I'm thinking he kind of comes back to earth here in the Super Bowl, which is why I prefer the under.
Spence, I will tell you this. It's hip to be square, but of all the ones for you to take the under on, how can you possibly take the under on this one? I think this is an overplay. You either play the over or you don't play it at all. And I'm not playing it at all. But goodness, I don't think I could bet the under on Cooper Kupp.
I don't know, man. That number is really high. It's really high. I mean, I know he's been great, but I've never seen a receiving prop that high for a single game.
It is high, but I tell you, I'm not betting an under on Cooper Kupp. Again, you either bet the over or you don't bet it at all. I think.
All right, Devin. So, play the mediator again. What do you like here?
I like Joe Mixon over 90.5 total yards. I think it's a prop that I talked about a couple weeks ago when the first matchup was set up. And I just think the Bengals, to be successful on offense, are going to have to use him quite a bit because they're going to focus in on, Jamar Chase, obviously, T. Higgins as well, Tyler Boyd. And with CJ Uzama kind of in the air, I think that third, fourth option, Joe Mixon is going to play kind of that part. And I think, especially with how the Rams are probably going to play against his offense, they're going to force Burrow to check the ball down a lot. And I can see Mixon getting a lot of yards after catch, getting really involved, especially in the screen game as well. I don't necessarily love the rushing total because I don't think he's going to hit that high, but all you need really is 30, 40 rushing yards, and then he breaks a couple big ones receptions wise, plus some of the checkdowns. I think that's a really good number for him, and I really like that play.
Yeah, again, I think the Bengals may funnel to him early in the game because they know that pass rush is coming after Burrow. They're going to try to catch the Rams coming into the backfield and run right by him, either with like a just a draw play, a dive play, or a screen pass. So I do like that. I will say this about Cooper Kupp. He is great, and I would not like to bet the under there, and I will not bet the under there because, like Jim said, it's awful, right? I mean, it's like sitting there trying to root against Cooper Kupp not to get catches is like it's like rooting against the sun to come up. I mean, it's hard.
The bad thing about that too is, Zach, if you have Cooper Kupp and let's say it's the middle of the fourth quarter and it's a tight game, and he's got 60 yards, you feeling safe that your under is going to hit?
Well, no, I wouldn't feel safe until
they're going to go to him over and over and over again.
It's not under till it's over.
I mean, that's one that.
But look, I will say, if the game goes the way the Rams want it to go, he won't need 100 yards.
No, and I will say this of the bets that we've all talked about. I mentioned this, and Adam Chernoff talks about this too with Covers.com. We had him on Data 2 Tuesday. You have to, if you're playing more than 3 or 4 props, which a lot of us are. I mean, I've got 19 right now. I'm probably gonna have a few more, and I don't do a great enough job of this. But you have to be diversified, and the reason why I like Devin's pick is obviously, I mean, it's no secret that it hasn't been a secret for a week and a half now that I'm on the Rams, and most of my prop bets kind of like tend to lean towards Rams heavy. And you need to be diversified, so you need to pick a couple Bengals props that you do like. They're not all going to go under. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why I like Devin's pick right there, is because if someone is going to have a good day for the Bengals, I think the most likely person to do that is going to be a Joe Mixon. And I don't necessarily think he's going to run for a ton of yards, but I do think that Burrow is going to try to involve him as much as they can in the screen game. And like we talked about, going around the end and trying to catch across and get those Rams linebackers involved, because if there's a weak spot on the Rams defense, that is certainly where it is, because you're not going to find it on the corners and you're not going to find it on the ends and around the defensive line. So you're either going to have to run up the A and B gap, or you're going to have to find a way to get Mixon behind the line of scrimmage and get him in on those linebackers.
I mean, one thing you're trying to do on these prop bets, it's a lot like daily fantasy. You're trying to think of the game script. How is this game going to go? How do I think the game's going to go? Is it going to be the Rams get out to a lead and try to grind it out? Is it going to be low scoring? Is it going to be high scoring? Is it going to be a shootout? I mean, and Spencer can talk to that about that a lot, because it's the way you do things in DFS. Because in a normal Sunday slate, you're trying to pick out the game or 2 games that are going to be absolute shootouts, because that's where the fantasy points are. Well, in this case, you have to play this game, but you got to think of that script. Who is more likely to get a lot of yards or not a lot of opportunity within the script that you think the game will follow?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, game script always a key play with this stuff, and so it's just why I've got liking a lot of overs here, because I'm thinking it'll be pretty high score. And just to go back to the Kupp thing, I know y'all probably thinking, well, how could you like the under with Kupp if you think it's going to be high score? And it's just with yardage, I'm thinking that, I mean, he's had a few games where he hadn't quite eclipsed 100, and he's still produced. I mean, I still think he'll get around 80 and a touchdown, so it's not something go lay a bunch of money on for sure. I mean, he could easily get 150. I mean, I'm not he's damn talented. It's just I just feel like that total is just really inflated there.
It is a very high number.
Spencer, we'll say this: his DraftKings price is way too high. You can't afford to put him in your DraftKings lineup. I mean, that's
it's crazy.
It will cost you way too much of your salary.
And that's one thing about Super Draft is with the multiplier, you get to pick all those guys if you want them, but you're not going to get the multiplier on their points that you get with other DFS games. So it's interesting. Before we go to our picks to end the show, I do want to talk about a couple of other sports, and we'll transition into that. Caesars has about 30 or 40 of these things up, cross-sport prop bets. And these you really got to sit and think and do some research on these because, Joe Burrow longest completion plus 1.5, or Steph Curry points, rebounds, and assists in their game on Saturday. Well, we know Burrow's longest completion prop is 38.5. So Steph Curry, will he get over 39 points, rebounds, assists? Where is the value there? I mean, that's OBJ receiving yards, 63.5. LSU men scoring points against Mississippi State on Saturday. You get 4.5 with OBJ. So, I don't. These are for fun only. I don't know that you could do a really strong handicap on these, but they do open your mind.
Yeah, I didn't even know they were offering these. This is pretty interesting here. I'm taking Burrow over Curry. I can tell you that Curry's been cold lately. He's I don't know what his problem is. He's been in he'll have a big game every now and then, but lately he hadn't been his usual self.
Your mic's off. Zach.
I don't.
There you go.
I don't know if those. See, this is sitting right next to each other. We can actually do that. I don't know if LSU's offense is at the point where you're going to be betting a lot on LSU either. So we'll see. Speaking of basketball, C.J. McCollum makes his Smoothie King Center debut tonight, or at least he's expected to. But the Pelicans are 4.5-point underdogs to the Miami Heat. Jim, this was one of your daily best bets today.
It is, and I was looking kind of through different services, and the public is all over the Heat. And this one, it was like 80%. And then the line dropped after I was looking at it. So some big money has come in on the Pelicans, like right around the time I was doing best bets. I got to fade the public and go with the sharps on this one and take the Pelicans. I got a feeling they're going to play well. They have won 4 in a row. The Heat this is the 6th and final game of a 2-week road string for the Heat. They're about to go home and play the Nets, who made a huge trade today. By the way, they traded James Harden. So, but you got to think the Heat, their mind's on going home, and they can't wait to get home. I think the Pelicans win this game outright. I think it would be a shocker to some, but the way the Pelicans have played as of late, I think they're in a good spot right now. And man, the job that Willie Green has done has just been outstanding. Said it over and over again. Once they found out that Zion wasn't coming back anytime soon, and they realized we've got to do it by ourselves, they have absolutely done that. And you can only imagine what making this trade has done for the psyche of this team, that management is buying into us. They believe what we can do. With or without Zion, they believe in us. And so I just think it's going to be a huge boost. I am really, of all the games that up to this point, this might be the game that I'm most interested in watching because I think they're going to have an excellent performance tonight. I wish I could go down the street and go to the Smoothie King Center before I went home. Yeah,
and by the way, the line is down to 4 now. That 4.5 was from this morning. You can get the Pelicans on the money line here behind us at plus 155. And so I also think, the Smoothie King Center is not known as a great home court advantage. You're going to get a pretty good walk-up crowd tonight. You're going to get a pretty good boost of energy from McCollum making his debut. I do think there will be more of a home court than usual tonight.
I'm interested to hear what Devin thinks about the acquisition of McCollum and what it can do to boost this team even further than they play. I mean, their guard play hasn't been bad, but we know Devontae Graham has been a nice shooter from the outside. But I'd just like to get your take on where you think how this is going to help this team.
Yeah, when I look at this team, getting to see them in person earlier this week, it was very clear they needed guard help. They needed some extra scoring because Brandon Ingram is carrying a lot of the load offensively. Devontae Graham is great, but he's streaky. When he's on, he's really good, but he's like a very complimentary piece. He's not going to be dependent on to be the main scorer. When things break down, they always get the ball to Brandon Ingram. And, he's been great. He's been fantastic. But adding McCollum, I think, is going to be huge because not only can you stagger like the minutes from Ingram and McCollum, so where you still have offensive, flow and scoring, even when Ingram goes out of the game, but he won't have to be a primary defender on ball. They got Herb Jones, who's played fantastic defensively. Jackson Hayes has played really, really well down the stretch as well. And when you think about McCollum, kind of lacks defensively. So I don't think McCollum and Graham are going to play a lot together on the floor, just because I think it's not a great matchup with those guys both on the floor, but on defense. I mean, you can put them on in the corner against a shooter, and that way he can bring more of that offensive firepower that this team needs.
The Pelicans, the worst outside shooting team in the league, and McCollum will change that in a hurry. I mean, you talk about filling a need. They gave up a lot for him, but he is exactly what that team needed. So we'll see how that happens.
They should have just gone all the way and got a little Dame time.
Yeah, maybe in the summer. Huh? Maybe in the summer. Speaking of our best bets, we had a bad weekend, as we talked about Monday on Odds and Ends. And by the way, coming up on Odds and Ends next Monday at 4 o'clock, we'll recap the Super Bowl, of course. But we're going to take a hard look at NBA futures after the trade deadline. You mentioned James Harden going to Philly, Ben Simmons coming to Brooklyn, some other trades around. I think Porzingis got sent to Washington, and so the Mavs get Spencer Dinwiddie to play point guard. I mean, a lot of interesting movement around the league. But we've done pretty well this week. It's brought us close to 500 since we started doing this a couple of weeks ago, and so we're hoping to continue that momentum tonight. Jim, you talked about Pelicans. You also have an over in college basketball.
Yeah, I was looking at Purdue, Michigan, and I really started looking at liking Purdue, but then when I got into the numbers a little bit and realized that both of these teams they like to score. I mean, they both average it in the 70s, and both of these teams have really bad scoring defenses. I mean, as good as Purdue is, they're like 160th in the nation in scoring defense, and Michigan somewhere around the 180 mark. So they just played about a week and a half ago, I believe, or a week ago, and the score was somewhere in the neighborhood of 82-74, and I think that was probably low. Michigan had a low-scoring game against Penn State last weekend. So I think this is a game that easily both teams could be right around 80, and to get it at 145 seems like a gift.
So those are our best bets for Thursday, and again, you can check those out every day at bet.nola.com. We have daily best bets written by one of us every single day, sometimes written by more than one of us. So check those out. And again, you can download the Caesar Sportsbook app. Go to NOLA.com/Caesars. Get your bonus today. And that about wraps it up for us. We want to make some Super Bowl picks before we go, though. It is that time here. Again, the line here at Caesars is Rams by 3.5 with the over-under of 48.5. I don't know. It's probably not going to stay at 3.5, as we said, Jim, but we'll go ahead and use that for right now. Devin Jackson, start us off. What is your predicted Super Bowl score?
I have the Rams winning this game, and I think they'll cover the spread, 3.5 point spread. At 4.5, I was more inclined to take the Bengals, but now that it's moved down 3.5, I like the Rams here to win. I think it's going to be 24-20. I have that score for the Rams winning there. So I think the Rams win and cover, and ultimately I think Matthew Stafford wins Super Bowl MVP.
24-20, that's an under, and that's Rams covering if you get it at 3.5, but watch that number. I don't think you'd bet that at 4.5, it sounds like. Spencer Urquhart, your pick, Bengals or Rams, what's your final score?
All righty, I'm going with the Bengals here. I'll assume go with the money line. I'm thinking they'll win 31-27. I think it's going to be, like I said earlier, fairly high-scoring game. I think the Rams get ahead early. I'm thinking they lead at halftime, and a lot of people probably thinking that they're going to do it. But I believe in Joe Burrow. I think he's going to have a big second half and lead the Bengals to their first ever Lombardi, and he'll take home MVP honors.
Be the first guy ever to win a Heisman, a national championship, and a Super Bowl if that happens. Jim Derry, final score.
I'm going to be nice. Rams 26, Bengals 13. I think this is going to be one of those older Super Bowls where the drama's out of it close to halftime. Now, of course, with Joe Burrow, we've seen him in the playoffs where it looks like the game's over and he comes back and finds a way to win. And I think that's what the storyline is going to be at the half. Can he find a way to come back to win? Because I think it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 14-3 at halftime. I just this is like one of the worst matchups the Bengals could possibly have. And I know Burrow has been filled with magic, and it's really hard to bet against them. And I know New Orleanians hate the Rams and love Joe Burrow, and that's not what they want. But I just don't see it. I mean, I'm going strictly by matchup and not what my heart wants or what my wallet wants or whatever. And I just don't think that he's going to be knocked on his keister all day long. And again, 26-13 in my mind is probably being nice because I think this has the potential to be a real blowout.
All right. See, you must have looked at our Google Doc where we're doing predictions for the paper because I took 26-17.
Oh, I got to do that, by the way.
Yeah, I took 26-17 Rams, so we're very similar here. That's always a little bit scary when Jim and I are, I don't know what to think about that. But I do like the Rams 26-17. I think they get out to a lead. I think Cam Akers goes over his total, and I think the Bengals make it interesting maybe with another touchdown at the end of the game. But ultimately, Rams seal it with a field goal to go up 26-17 with a couple minutes left, and that's what happens. So those are our picks. We're sticking to them. Jim and I might saunter on back to the Caesar Sportsbook here at Harrah's and put some money where our mouth is. Devin and Spencer, you guys have any final thoughts?
Oh, yeah. I tell you what, if the Bengals win, I'm going to take some victory laps. If they don't, well, feel free to roast me. But I'm staking my flag on Cincy. Let's go.
All right. Odds and ends on Monday, I mean. Spencer's on the show, but only if the Rams win.
I'll tell you what, Spence. If the Bengals win, I'm not sure who my other guest is for Tuesday, but if the Bengals win, I'm going to have you on Datitude. If the Rams win, Devin Jackson's on if he wants to come on.
All right. Devin, your final thought?
I was going through the prop bets, and I made a extremely long shot prop bet that I think could actually happen. So you mentioned that the starting tight end for the Rams is hurt. I put a bet $10 down to win 110 on Kendall Blanton getting the first reception of the game because everyone's going to be focused on Odell, Cam Akers, Van Jefferson, Cooper Kupp. I could see a short 5-yard dump off past him to get the first reception of the game.
I like that. I actually have Kendall Blanton. I have Kendall Blanton to score a touchdown. I think at plus 460 or something like that as well. So a little bit of value there because it's the same prices as Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee's probably going to be out. He's probably going to miss the game. So to me, there's value on Kendall Blanton there.
Yeah, great DFS play. He's over a ×2 multiplier on Super Draft, and I'm sure a really good DraftKings value or whatever site y'all like to play.
All right, so that's our last bit of advice. Kendall Blanton, maybe a sneaky play. Go Mizzou. Only Mizzou player in the game. I had to do it.
I will say just a reminder to everyone. I know the Super Bowl is fun and all that stuff, but look, when I started doing, and I'm guilty of it too. I mean, when I started going through my prop bets, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm playing with a lot of house money. I happen to have a decent amount of, bonus cash from Caesars, and I'm grateful for that. But when I started going through how much I was actually putting down on prop bets, it can add up quickly. So make sure that you only bet what you can afford to bet. You don't want to. Betting the Super Bowl is fun. Betting it multiple ways is fun, but be careful about how much you're betting, where you're betting, and having money flying all over the place. And not only that, have a sheet on Super Bowl Sunday and have it with you and follow it like that and know what you have bet and know what's coming on. And be careful with the live betting as well, because I know Zach and I both like the live bet. It's a lot of times where you get your best values, especially early in the game. If you like the Bengals and the Rams score quickly, you might get a plus 7.5. Might be a good bet right there. Conversely, if you like the Rams and the Bengals score first, you might get a Rams even. So maybe you might want to wait to play some lines and hope you get lucky early. But regardless, I urge everyone to stay within their means with this, because it is very easy. Take it from someone who is gone beyond their means in the past. It is very easy to go beyond your means, and you wake up Monday morning and you realize you lost 15 of 20 prop bets, and you're like, holy smokes, that ain't fun.
Yeah, words of wisdom. Have fun, but be careful. So we will be back on Monday. Bayou Bets. Bayou Bets is the name of the Monday show now. I got to get that through my head. We will be back 4 o'clock on Monday. Jim will have Datitude. We will recap the Super Bowl, the PGA event. Right now, KH Lee leads the Waste Management Open. And we'll talk some NBA and some college basketball as well. So for Devin, Spencer, and Jim, this has been At the Book here on bet.nola.com. Have a good Super Bowl, everybody.